Hello there, Ragnon here, and this is a quick video tutorial on how you, as a player, can keep up to date with the constantly changing meta in World of Warcraft for your given class and spec. Many times content creators create video tutorials on the beginning of different tiers or expansions, and those are a great resource to get into the game, whether you're returning or if you're swapping to a new class or role. Those are fantastic, but oftentimes as the season goes on, those become more and more out of date and incorrect as the meta changes and as players start doing different things. So these are some resources that you can keep up to date on your own with what's changing in the meta. So the first resource I want to go over with you is SubCreation. So if you go to subcreation.net, this is a website that takes all of the top parses from Warcraft Logs, and it aggregates them into some data on what the top players are doing as far as their talents and specs and what's performing the best, different gear. So you can choose either Mythic Plus or Raid. For the purposes of the video, I'm going to focus on Raid today. And so I want to scroll down here and I'm going to look at healers so I can see what the top healers are currently in Mythic parsing. You can also change it to Heroic. But this is based exclusively on HPS, so you have to take this with a grain of salt. Some healers, like for example Disc Priest, is more of a DR healer, and so HPS is not necessarily the most important thing when they're bringing things like barrier and stuff. So I'm going to look at Holy Priest right now, and you can change it to either Mythic or Heroic. For the purposes of this, I'm going to keep it on Mythic. And you can see here what the top talent builds are. You can either look at the entire tree as a whole, or if you want to separate it by class tree or spec, you can do that. So I'm going to take a look at the full tree, and then you can either copy it and copy and paste that directly into your talent page to import that, or if you want, you can click here on calculator. It'll take you to the calculator, on Wowhead, and you can take a look at it before you import it. Some builds are pretty similar and just have minor changes. Like for example, these two builds right here, the only difference is Binding Heals versus the Angel's Mercy for your Desperate Prayer. And then this one right here, the only change between that and the top is Divine Star and Halo, and then the fourth one. So you can see these top four are all extremely similar with very small variances there. So you can kind of look at that and see similarities between builds. You can also look at the top embellishments that are being run. I have noticed that some embellishments, like for example Healing Darts, don't show up here. So this top one with Spore Cloak, many of these might also have Healing Darts, so you do need to be careful about that. You can look more in depth by clicking here on the max HPS, for example. And this one is, I'm going to look at the healing. Obviously this is this gentleman here. It's wrong language. I'm going to translate it here. And so if I click on him, I can go here to the summary to look at his equipment for more information. And so you can hover over and look at different crafted items and stuff and see if they have healing darts and stuff there. You can also look at healing, and you can see he does have healing darts as part of his healing. So one of his crafted pieces does have healing darts on them. So you do have to be careful about that. You can also look at what the top crafted pieces are, what gems people are using. It looks like 62% of the community is using these mastery crit gems, and then a growing number are using these crit mastery gems. And then you can look at enchants, what pieces everybody's using for their tier. It looks like the most common piece that's being dropped as far as tier goes is the hands. So hands are the first one that people are choosing to replace with a different gear piece. You can look at trinkets, and so on and so forth. So this is a really good tool for both Mythic Plus and Raid to see as far as gearing goes and talents, what you can make changes to in order to perform well. Another tool that you can use is Murloc. and spelled with a K, Murloc.io. This is a good resource for looking at similar information to SubCreation. I've found that this can be good, especially for Mythic Plus. It doesn't really include information for raid anyways, so this is another thing that you can compare with SubCreation for what players are doing in Mythic Plus. So you can click on your class, click on your spec, Mythic Plus, and then you can check the index here for players that you can track, who the highest IO players are for that given spec, what stats are most commonly being run, races, talents, all kinds of good stuff. And I like how they have the talent page lined up here. Rather than having just specific rows and stuff, it shows percentiles. So, you know, the orange are must takes, just about everybody's taking it. And then purple means it's highly taken, and then you can see as the numbers go down how these are becoming increasingly rare choices for those talent pages. So Murloc.io is another good resource to keep up. A third and final resource I want to go over with you today is WarcraftLogs.com. So Warcraft Logs is a resource that people post their logs from raid fights and Mythic Plus dungeons and stuff like that, and it parses everybody against other performers of that given spec on that encounter. So for right now, let's look, for example, if I click here on raids, I'm going to look at Sarkareth. And for Sarkareth, I want to change the, we're looking at healing today, not damage. If you're a DPS, obviously you could leave it on damage, or if you're a healer that's looking to DPS parse, that is a separate type of parse that you can look to do. And I want to choose healers. I'm going to choose priest and holy, just to keep it consistent with the other examples we've been looking at. Once you've got it narrowed down to your certain spec, then you'll see a new section that appears up here, the class talents. This shows within the top 100 parses what everybody's doing for their talents. So the 100%, that's what everybody is always using. And then you can see here, for example, Light of the Naru and Epiphany are two different contrasting talent choices. And you can see the percentile that's being used there. Down below that, you can see the trinket choices. So you can see just about everybody's using Rashok. And then we've got Screaming, Black Dragon Scale, and the OCD trinket are probably conflicting second choices. And then below that is the class trinket. You can look at embellishments as well. And then down below that, you can click on specific parses to read those logs and look more in depth at what they're doing. I'm probably going to do a separate video for how to dive into Warcraft logs because there's a lot to unpack that's probably outside the scope of this video. And that's going to do it for today. That is a quick rundown on how to use some tools to figure out on a bird's eye view what the top performers of your class are using as far as talents go and gear and trinkets. And so I hope this was helpful. Please like and subscribe if you're looking for more healing content. Bye.